And a wonderful Tuesday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on this Tuesday night, the 28th day of July, 2026. Grateful to see everybody. And we had Lori Mills on last night, so I'm going to come over here and change my screen. I should have done that already, but I got a good-looking guy on the phone. And I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek. It looks like he's been beat up or something. I don't know what's going on with him. You know, I leave him alone for a few weeks, and I come back, and it looks like he's been in some kind of brawl or something. But James Akers on the phone with me tonight. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fine, Chris. Doing fine. Good being with you.
Good being with you. I'm sorry for your little accident you've had, but we missed you last week. I tell you, I've had a couple of weeks. I've just been not even hardly on at all over the last 2 weeks. My son graduated, of course, from the U.S. Air Force boot camp in Lackland, and then we had a week, just a few days home from that, and went to New York, had a glorious weekend up there, and we're glad to be back doing shows and regular timing. So August is going to be a little bit more settled. So good to see you tonight. Listen, big news tonight. I want to talk to you several things. I want to deal with Iran first. I don't want to spend the whole program on this because we and you have bantered this back and forth a lot. But I do want to announce tonight there's been some developments. It seems that the Iranians, Trump had given them, there was a noticeable stall in the attacks. And he had pretty much tried to give them some grace, James. He was still talking even yesterday on Air Force One that he felt like that the negotiations to get him to where he's wanted him to get anyway were still a possibility. He said we were bombing and the you-know-what out of them, and they were begging us to stop. He said, I gave some grace and so forth, and we will return with some not so much grace tonight. They started firing at us. Our drones knocked the missiles down. But James, you just cannot trust this regime. And I know President Trump is doing his best to do the right thing and give them every chance. But it just seems that we're not dealing with a fair broker in this. And I hate to say it, we're going to have to clean house and just finish this job. If we don't, we're going to keep playing footsie with them, and nobody's going to win that. And the Middle East is going to suffer for it because they're going to keep attacking the other nations and eventually attack Israel, and that's going to bring World War III, almost Armageddon stuff to the plain.
Yeah, it's I've got a new missive coming out. I'm looking at several things here in the Middle East, and one is, do you remember a little bit more than 2 years ago, the Iranians completely flipped the script and for the first time launched a massive attack with rockets and cruise missiles and drones on Israel and American military positions in the Middle East. And between the Israeli defenses, Jordanians, the Saudis, etc., approximately 99% of those drones and missiles were shot out of the sky.
Yes.
And so the Iranians sort of went back to the drawing board, and they have been much more effective this time around in hitting spots in the Middle East and American military facilities. And so I'm writing a paper now about what the difference was in the 2 years. And in short, some of your listeners may be interested in short, the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, their aerospace program acquired in orbit a Chinese spy satellite that has been a true game changer in the Middle East in terms of enabling them to hit targets with real-time overhead information and the like. And so I'll be that'll be on my website
Okay.
here in a few days, and I'm releasing that. But at least to me, it's an interesting story because it's a real game changer.
When you say game changer for more peace or more chaos and what we're seeing right now? What's your thoughts on that?
Oh no, it gives the Iranians a much more credible information, real time imagery. They also can use Chinese commercial ground sites so that they have accurate information that enables them to look at American bases, tell the real from the decoys, and so their military capability. They've caused casualties in this latest round that we haven't seen anywhere in the Middle East in terms of our facilities getting hit and this, that,
Right.
and the other.
That's wild.
It's a different story because it's a commercial satellite, ostensibly. The Chinese have plausible deniability, so that when Trump asked President Xi, "Are you helping the Iranians?" Xi can, with a straight face, say no, because it's not really state-to-state assistance. It is a whole new realm of spy satellites that are out there. That the information's being sold to countries like Iran, so that middle countries no longer have to expend billions of dollars developing these overhead reconnaissance capabilities. They can just go to off-the-shelf commercial providers like the Chinese. That is a major change.
Okay. Let me ask you this, because you went exactly where I was going next with my question. Who do you think Iran's getting help? I heard North Korea this week. Since we talked last, they started threatening Israel outwardly. Russia has been sort of a quiet, behind the scenes thing. They asked Trump that yesterday on Air Force One. Do you think Russia's helping him? And he said, well, if they are, it's not making any difference. I'm going to ask you the same question about China. If China's helping them, James, is it really making a big difference in what's going on there, or do you think that long term, if we keep protracting this out and the Iranians keep buying time and keep having Trump back off whenever he's ready on the brink of victory, because he's been played 3 times about this, are you basically saying tonight that these players are going to start sort of not so much be in the dark anymore, but we could have more attacks? Because Trump is concerned about it. I mean, he said that. He said, look, if Russia is interfering, I'm going to let Putin know real quick that I'm not happy with it. And, it's a crazy thing. What happened this week, too, was Ukraine. Ukraine basically intercepted some Iranian. They got involved in this. BIBI is in the country tonight along with Zelensky. They talked today at Lindsey Graham's funeral, and they're a player in this all of a sudden. So this thing is beginning to get very complicated. But do you think it will ultimately matter who gets involved in this? But does it get more dangerous as the more we let this go on, the more dangerous it's getting? I'm assuming that's what you're trying to say.
Well, that's what I say. We're in a completely different age. The Ukrainian war, what was an advantage for decades, is no longer an advantage in the age of drone warfare. And now, because countries like China, now North Korea, their leader just rattles the sword all the time.
He's a nut.
But the Chinese commercial companies, they have in the past, just recently, have built an overhead surveillance fleet with over 500 satellites. They have one that's superior, at least as far as we know. There may be something that exists in the black world, but as far as we know, they have a satellite whose capabilities are way above ours, and it provides constant real-time surveillance over the Asia Pacific region, and now what I'm saying is that there's a true game changer that you're not going to read about in any mainstream U.S. Publication or anything else, and it is. The Iranians have now tapped into satellite production.
Wow.
A satellite system that one of their true weaknesses 2 years ago, so that they could not get anything through. Now all of a sudden we're seeing, casualties. And again, there's a big debate and controversy about whether they've all been reported and this, that, and the other. And it's because there's an entirely different situation now. And so our military planners are against an enemy now, a middle nation enemy that China no longer has to sneak things through on a state-to-state basis, but their commercial entities can sell to Iran the satellite imagery that's the equivalent of anything that we have.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, it's a game changer. It gives them a capability they did not have 2 years ago. And it's going to be a tough nut to crack.
Yeah, that's a wild that's a wild scenario, brother. And I believe that as you said, the word game changer don't really cover it. I think that's gonna be I tell you what, Trump's supposed to be over in China in April, I think, of next year. He's going there next time, or Xi's coming here. And I think, Trump went to China, so Xi's coming here next year. So that discussion may be a little bit more tense than what it was originally going to do as it stood, just 6 months ago. But one quick question. I'm going to move on from Iran because I want to talk to you about some other things tonight. Do you agree with Trump's strategy with this pause that he's doing, and every time they say uncle, he sort of drops the bombing, and then they do this stuff, and then we go back to bombing them. They say uncle, we quit, go back to bombing. What's your take? We got your buddy Brad Johnson coming on Thursday. He's already told me he's not a big fan of our strategy right now with Iran. And he said he probably wouldn't have went and done this to begin with, but if we're going to do it, we need to do it right. What's James Akers' view on all that?
It's just a tough situation because we're in a major period of this is what people don't get, I would suggest. We are in a major transition now when it comes to military operational activities. And what we are doing is using strategy that worked for us 2 years ago.
That's a good point. Excellent point.
And so now we are having to change the way we do things. There are some reports, I don't know how reliable they are, that you had a major special forces training operation in the desert out west. To basically set up a special forces operation that would take out some of these nuclear missiles that are underground.
Heard the same thing.
The planners reportedly came back to President Trump and said, be prepared for mass casualties. And there are reports that we have been sending plane load after plane load of doctors to like German facilities, hospital facilities, where casualties would go to. Now, all of that may be, it's hard to tell who to trust anymore when it comes to all this stuff. But my point is, there's been a real change in the way we conduct military operations, and this strategy that has worked for us before is I would suggest is not achieving the results Trump hoped for, and he's going to have to try something different. And I just don't know if the American public is ready for something different.
Well, my question to you, you read my mind, Akers. You're so good, my next question to you was, what something different would James Akers suggest? I know what Brad suggested is get the something out of there, as only Brad could say. And we're going to talk to him Thursday night because I hadn't talked to him in a while. And but if you were advising the president tonight, what would James Akers tell President Trump to do? Because he don't have many options. I remember a movie that I saw. It was called Argo, and they were trying to figure out how to get our hostages out of Iran. And the CIA guy that was played by Philip Baker Hall was asked. He was asking the question. He said, "What options do we have?" And the guy said, "We've only got bad options." And he said, "Well, I need the least bad option of the bad options." What James Akers' bad options was it deals with Iran tonight that are the least bad options?
I tell you, if I'm advising the president, I would say, Mr. President, you have three options. One is to just declare victory in the war. It's costing us an exorbitant amount of money with limited results. Reach whatever deal you can, which would essentially give the Iranians a chance to beat their chest and declare victory.
It would. Yes, it would.
And that's, but it may be the most palatable political option. That's number one option. The second option is you can keep playing this cat and mouse game. Give diplomacy a chance, and then when it doesn't work, or when the Iranians step out of line, you hit them with a renewed bombing campaign. You've hit all the IRGC targets that you can eliminate, basically, and so you would have to up it to water plants and other things that would really hurt. There are political risks to that, and there are also, you would any sort of sympathy among the Iranian populace, you would probably lose that card if you continue as you're going and just increase the target list.
Yeah.
The third option, and it's certainly the most politically risky option, is to take ground troops and a special forces operation, and our intelligence has a pretty good fix on where they're keeping their nukes and the like. Hit a major target and hurt them, and justify it to the world as we said that we weren't going to allow them to have a nuclear weapon, and do it. You would probably need Israeli help to do that, and their political risks come with that. So basically, those are his three options, and none of them are good options.
As I said, if I was doing a movie, I would look at you as the director and say, "Is this the least bad, the bad options?" I think you've given us three bad options there, man. Because I don't think the Iranians should beat their chest, and they will. And I think that's just as risky. But I think what you just described is where Trump's looking at. If I'm hearing you right tonight, if he's being told to plan for mass casualties, there's something. And I do got to ask you this. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there was earthquakes in Iran this week. Do you think they're detonating nuclear weapons underground to destroy them, to try to destroy any evidence they had nuke material? Or do you think those? I mean, I don't want to get into what ifs and speculation, but I've asked people have told me about the earthquakes, and they made a comment. They said, I believe this is something underground that the Iranians are doing. Do you fall in that category, or what do you think? Do you think that these people are hiding a lot of stuff that we still don't know about?
Well, I think they're definitely hiding a lot of stuff, but we have, from an intelligence perspective, we have pretty good airborne monitors and other things that would and we would know if they're conducting underground radioactive explosions of some sort.
Okay.
We would know that.
Okay.
And so I'm inclined not to think that, because you just had a major earthquake in Japan.
Yeah, we did 7.1.
And
very prophetic earthquake
in Europe, and I think there's an entirely different explanation for all these earthquakes, and I think we're going to see a bunch more over the years ahead too.
We tend to agree on that. I just said I said it was speculation. I didn't say I believed it. I just said that it is. It's who knows with these Iranians, James. You just again, we're not dealing with a fair broker of peace. We're not dealing with people that are honest. These people have been in power for 47 years. They have been one of the most wicked regimes in the world, not just the Middle East, but the entire world. They have exported terror to the point that they've got the blood of multiple tens of millions of people on their hands. And this is who we're dealing with. And, there's no way to get around that. I don't know if I asked you this last week. I know that we had one show, and I don't know if it was you with us or somebody. It may have been Leslie Millway, so I may have asked her this. But last week, did you hear when Trump was confronted with this question about, do you worry about the fallout of this on the midterms? And he basically gave an honest answer, and he said, no, I don't. And he said, I'm going to do what's best for the country. And that tends to make me wonder about your scenarios, that he's not thinking about midterms. I don't think he cares right now. I think he's telling the Republicans, I'm not, you can't keep depending on me to save your backside. You're going to have to actually do some work, get out there and win this midterm yourself. But I think he's looking at this from the country's best interest, not the Republicans, and it's not making a lot of Republicans happy tonight. The Dems are not going to do nothing but try to fight him. But what do you thoughts on that? I'm with Trump. Do what's best for the country, because we got a mortal enemy that we're fighting right now, and it's an ideology that is very dangerous. It's a very wicked government that he's addressing right now. It needs to be addressed. It should have been addressed decades ago.
No, I agree with that, and I hope that what he said is the way he does his thinking. But let me play devil's advocate on that. What else could he say? If
That's true.
If he said, of course I'm thinking about political equities.
No, that's true.
Iran, they're going to say, all right, we got him by the short hairs, let's just drag this thing out.
No, that's true. No, that's absolutely correct, and that's exactly what they would have done. This dishonest media. Let me change subjects. I think people get the idea, but I did want to let people know that Iran shot those missiles off tonight, and James, Trump. You have to give him credit. He's trying his best to keep us from killing people. He's not wanting to destroy the people. And these Iranians are leaving him with no choice. They don't care. They just don't care about life. And it's what makes them so dangerous. But thank you for your insight on that. And we're going to watch this story develop. And as you said, you're not going to read about this in the New York Times or the CNN crowd. But I want to ask you the couple of revelations tonight. Joe Biden's tapes have been released thanks to some court wins. And also Anthony Fauci, the fraud, who I believe needs to be in prison the rest of his natural born life. And I wouldn't even say that the death penalty wouldn't be in order of what he did to this country. James, we had over 1 million people die from COVID. I know that there's a lot of people out there that have downplayed the severity of it, and I've even seen people on the right say it was nothing but the glorified flu, and I disagree with that. I had it, and it liked to kill me. And I'd never been so sick in my life back in 21 for 4 months, and I'd never gone through something like that. I do believe it was something that was released in China. I believe it got out, and I'm almost believing, I heard Lori Mills last night say it was a bioweapon, possibly, and I'm not going to doubt that it was that. But what Fauci did, and Deborah Birch, and the media, and the Democrat Party did to weaponize that virus to get to Trump, and then try to force people to take that vaccine. And now we find out with his diaries that this was all about him being a media darling. He didn't believe the virus was going to, deep down in his side, he was saying the same things that conservatives were saying. He was mocking conservatives on television. He was telling, basically in his diary, he didn't believe this vaccine would help anybody. And he knew it was about control. He knew exactly what the Democrats and the media were doing. He went along with it, but he was in power. And I believe it was the greatest mistake in 2 terms of President Trump. His greatest mistake, beyond all the bad appointments to his cabinet, was Anthony Fauci. He should have never let Anthony Fauci step foot on that podium in 2020 and take over the narrative of this COVID. It's turned out to be the worst decision he's ever made. And it's like Fauci's mocking the country now. And tomorrow, I don't see him doing anything but taking the fifth at that hearing. Because if he implicates himself, the pardon that he got from Joe Biden, which I want to talk about Joe with you too, but if Fauci lies under oath tomorrow, then that pardon, he can still be indicted for lying under oath. That pardon only covers stuff that's happened past. It doesn't cover what he's doing now. All right, that's a lot to sort of unpack, but tell me what your thoughts are on him, because I feel like he did a lot to damage this country, and there's a lot of people still suffering from those COVID measures and the jobs that they lost and the families that they lost. We had families not speaking to each other over this hideous, demonic weaponization of a virus.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there when you're talking about Fauci, but so I'll just give you the James Akers viewpoint on all of this. I fully expect him to take the fifth. That puts him in a as you outlined, a jeopardy situation in terms of any pardon in the future. He's already got one for other things. So when it comes to COVID, my problem with COVID is not that it wasn't a real problem, because I had a sister who was in charge of the COVID response team at the University of Tennessee Hospital, right there in your home.
Yes.
And so the problems she dealt with, the medical problems, were real problems. So there is that aspect of it. What I have a problem with it is when a real problem was used as an experiment of widespread population control.
Absolutely.
And I think the administration in power used that as a test case. I think the information they gathered from that will be applied to the next medical emergency that comes along, and we're going to see even quicker and firmer controls placed on the movement and the freedom of people. That's what I believe. I am fully convinced it was a bio warfare experiment that somehow slipped out.
I do too. I'm beginning to believe that.
Lab. I'm fully convinced of that, and so that's my take on COVID. The problem is that nobody has been able, at least to my understanding, nobody's been able to tell me or to calculate the point at which it transitioned from a legitimate medical emergency to a population control exercise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better, and that was the word I kept wanting to grab for, and I couldn't put it together. It was control. It was manipulation. It was intimidation. Cleo just posted it. It was not just America, it was the world, James. What he did and what Birch did and what the World Health Organization did, because they were behind it too, what they did affected entire nations. I've got people in this chat or in this show that's been with us for a long time. They lost their jobs. They lost their livelihoods. Like, I lost 3 channels. My channel got suspended 3 times in less than 6 months during that time. I remember one night, I have a dear family friend, and he's just a emergency room nurse down in the South Georgia area. And all I wanted him to do was come on one night and tell us what he was seeing in these COVID patients. And we were not even 15 minutes in, and boom, YouTube took us down. Not only took us down, but I got a 2-week suspension. And when I came back, somebody else came on, started talking about it. Boom, again. And they do you the 3rd time, your channel's gone. And but the cost, the human cost. One thing that really angers me tonight. Are you got your dollar or you got your nickel to get up on the soapbox with me now? As I hadn't done my soapbox all night, so this is my first soapbox tonight. I've not read his diaries, and I don't care to. I've just followed this today, and I've downloaded some excerpts. We got a clip coming up after you, but Jesse Waters, that he did a great job explaining this tonight. Clay Travis made a great comment, and he said there was nowhere in that diary of any remorse for the pain that he caused. There's nowhere in that diary that he said, I'm sorry for the deaths, I'm sorry for the loss of life, I'm sorry for the loss of jobs, I'm sorry for the loss of freedom, I'm sorry for the control that we did over the country. None of that. He has no remorse whatsoever. I don't think that you can get lower than Anthony Fauci tonight. I'm going to be frank with you, but I'm more mad at the people behind him and the people that put him up to doing it than even I am him. That says a lot. But James, they're not sorry for it. And what you said just now, I hope people caught it. What you said a while ago, they were preparing this for the next one. It was a test run. And because they saw Americans lay down and not fight against it and not stand up to it, they said we're going to be able to do this again whenever we want to do something and control them. They'll do it again, James. They're going to do it again. It may not be Anthony Fauci as the henchman next time. It'll be somebody else, but they're going to do it again.
Oh no, they gathered some valuable information on how far they can push things the next time. I mean, imagine churches are, closed by government fiat, but bars can stay open. It was just absolutely absurd. And you're right. Instead of pastors and churches standing up and saying, no, we will not close our doors because the church is the best possible remedy for people that are sick.
Absolutely. Come on, buddy. Come on. No, come on. Come on. And go ahead.
Instead, we let liquor package stores stay open as essential services, but churches are closed. Come on.
Right, James, I'm gonna give you a better one than that, buddy. Not to interrupt you, but Thanksgiving dinner, all these elites got together with their family. Look, in his diary, he was bragging that him and Jake Tapper were having Christmas together and Christmas dinners together and Thanksgiving dinners, while the country was being told you can't have more than 3 people in your house at one time. Basically being commanded to do that, to shut Thanksgiving down, to shut Christmas down. And families were being divided. I remember that time like it was yesterday. People telling me my mama don't speak to me no more. My sister don't speak to me no more. They want to wear a mask. I don't. They told me if I don't come wearing a mask, if I'm not vaccinated, I can't even have dinner with them. James, that that does not even begin to describe the level of wickedness and evil that this did to our country. It literally divided the nation. It sowed discord to facts that families still ain't speaking to each other 5 years later from that.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. By one man.
It is.
By one man's actions. Just one. Because we let him do it. We let him do it.
Yeah, that's I don't much disagree with that. I have a good friend who had an elderly relative that was a part of that New York thing where
Yes, I did too. I did too.
And nobody has answered for that. Nobody has answered for those acts that border on criminal acts, in my mind, that took place during that period. They got a free pass, gathered information for the next time, and the next emergency that will strip away every freedom that we have. They got good data on how to proceed with that.
They're going to do it again. The data they got, and they saw the country bow down to it, and they know what pastors now they can control. They know what churches they can control. They know what businesses they can control. You know, it's amazing that Walmart had the don't stand 6 inches, 6 feet apart from each other the night after all this started happening. It's amazing how quick that China Walmart had all this stuff out and ready to go. The signs printed, the warnings about COVID, the warnings about the mask. You know, are you vaccinated? You couldn't go into a hospital without them. You couldn't work. Some companies wouldn't let you work. And there were people in the military, James. I don't know if you remember this, buddy. Even in the CIA, the intelligence agencies during that time, they were telling people, if you've not been vaccinated, you're fired. James, they lost their livelihood, man, of decades, 30 years. Veterans, people had lost everything they had over a lie. A lie. That's all it was a lie.
And there's going to be, this is, again, is James Akers talking, nobody else. Please don't attribute this to any other organization or anybody else. But there is going to be a social and cultural price to pay in the future. And we're already starting to see glimpses of it because they rushed those vaccines into production without adequate testing procedures. There's going to be a health crisis in the future if we're not already in it.
I think we're already in it because I got friends. I know one down in Cleveland. Her and her husband, they're precious to me. But she told me that she took the vaccine. She regrets it, but she said that she had never had a heart problem in her life. But after she took that vaccine, she's had heart problems ever since. My dad, I begged him not to do it. The Veteran Administration convinced him to do it out of fear. He took it. He had already had a heart attack 2 years before. And all I did was watch my dad go down. And it ultimately, between the heart and pneumonia and COVID, all three together, took him out. I mean, he was dead, and he died in August this month coming up 5 years ago. And James, I attribute it to the vaccine. And I have to tell you, I may have shared this story, maybe not. But the morning that we were at the hospital, they wouldn't let us see him. I was one of those that didn't get to see his dad for. My dad stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks, and the hospitals refused to let us see him to go in there until the very day before they took him off the tube, which I didn't want that to happen either. That's another issue. But the thing is that he would have probably hung on a little longer had he not taken that vaccine. I firmly believe that. And the glibness of the doctor that morning, when he told us kids that my dad, that they needed the bed and that we needed to make a decision whether he wanted to live. And then he even said, we offered him the vaccine to give him a booster in the hospital. He didn't do it. And we think that's led to this demise. Me and my brother, we looked at each other, and the heat was rising so much that we almost got thrown out. We were getting so mad, and we were about to let it all hang out, and for the sake of Dad's wife at the time and some family members that were there with us. We kept our mouth shut. But I tell you what, we had a chin wag afterwards. But I wanted to tell that doctor, you killed him. You killed him by putting the tube down his mouth. And but James, it was just a bad time. And I noticed somebody just posted about the nursing home people. I love what you just said. There's never been accountability for the nursing home deaths that were caused by this. People's blood is going to be on some people's hands, my buddy. Somebody's going to be held accountable to this. It may not be on this side, but it's going to be held on the other side.
Yeah, I think that's right. And again, I go back to the very important qualifier, and you made the same one. This was a legitimate medical emergency. So we haven't been faced with that sort of situation before, but it transitioned somewhere along the way into a control experiment. We were all in a laboratory.
Yep, I'll agree with it. Do you think this was about Trump or the vaccine or both?
Thought about taking instead keep it up.
That's a good question, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure I have the answer to that. I do think, as a political proposition, statement rather, that without COVID, Donald Trump would have been reelected.
I would believe that, but it ultimately helped the country more that he wasn't. Even though we needed him, we sure didn't need Joe Biden for 4 years. But speaking of Joe, I'm with you on that. I believe he would have won. But it would not have been as good for the country as him winning again in 24 and making history of being reelected after a defeat. Because no president has done that. No, not after a 4-year period of time and come back like he did. It was unreal. But I want to ask you about Joe Biden. Because there's another revelation out tonight that he basically was mocking Trump. We're going to play a video of him here in a minute. Basically saying how upset he was and how perturbed he was that Trump had all these classified documents in Mar-a-Lago. And we know what happened down there. There was a story out last week that Merrick Garland had basically told the FBI agents, try to provoke him. What if he moves an inch, kill him? I mean, they were going down there with the intent that if Trump did anything to blink an eye wrong, they were willing to kill him. The FBI was. And that goes back to Biden. It goes back to Obama too, but Biden especially. And then he goes on 60 Minutes and says, well, I'm just flabbergasted that a sitting president, a former president, would have the kind of stuff that would destroy national security. We find out tonight that in these tapes, he admitted in 2009, and that would have been that'd been 1 year into the Obama administration. He had classified documents in his basement, which we all knew. He admitted it on tape. And then he admitted going out after the fact that James, even after he got defeated, or after he got kicked out of the race and Kamala got defeated, he still had the stuff in his basement, brother. He himself admitted it. My question is, why is there not raids on Joe Biden's house tonight? Why was there never raids on his house? And dragging him out in his wife's underwear in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it just seems like one set of rules apply for one party and another set of rules for the other. But what is really interesting is that he waged such a vigorous court battle to keep any of that information from being publicly released. About his taped conversations and the like. So there's going to be a lot that comes out of that.
Why do you think that he was so scared, though? Because it's not like you can do anything to him. He pardoned everybody but the Easter Bunny. I mean, it ain't like anybody's going to go to jail for this. I mean, he's pardoned everybody. And see, this is the thing about Fauci. Why would Fauci need a pardon? There was one thing that somebody mentioned tonight that Rand Paul is going to ask Fauci is, did you request the pardon or did Joe Biden give it to you willingly? And I think either way he answers that, if it's proven that he went to Biden knowing what he did was dishonest and criminal, and he got one, and then he says, no, I didn't, that could be the way that he's trapped. And, that, I don't know if he can take the fifth on that or not. But, James, this all is coming together. This was a Joe Biden clown show, and he was behind this. Obama was behind this. The deep state was behind this. This was a deep state effort to control America, to destroy Trump, and to take control of this country in a communist way. And, it's just scary that we came this close to this with an Alzheimer's patient, because let's not forget, the auto pen, whoever gave those pardons wasn't even Joe Biden. Somebody else gave those pardons out.
Yeah, it just keeps, it smelled bad at first blush, and the smell just keeps coming on in waves with everything that has to do with Joe Biden. He may have wished that he'd gotten out of his basement and done a couple more things.
Yeah, I think so. But anyway, I think that there was.
But why now? You asked that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But why now? You asked.
Yes.
Because I think he thinks his legacy is in jeopardy, and that's why he fought so hard to keep all that information out of the public eye.
Yeah, but at this point, what does it ultimately matter? I hate to quote Hillary Clinton. What does it ultimately matter? We all know Joe's gone. And it makes you wonder if there's other revelations coming in those tapes. Because remember when they were investigating this, and the guy, the FBI, it was right before the election, and he went before Congress and he said, we heard the tapes, and there are things in those tapes that could implicate Mr. Biden in this scandal. Because it was a special counsel that Congress hired, Merrick Garland hired, and their own special counsel said he's incriminated himself on those tapes. The Democrats said that's a lie. They discredited the special counsel. And it's all coming out tonight. Does that present double jeopardy to him? Is he under legal issue with that? Is that what he was scared of? Or is it a moot point now?
I think it's I think it's a moot point in terms of being able to retroactively indict or convict him on something. I don't think that's going to happen. What you're arguing about now is whatever vestige, whatever remains of legacy that he had. Even that's going to now be drawn into question with these revelations that are going to start tumbling out of this.
I hate to go here with you, but I want to ask you this question. Do you believe that one of the reasons Trump is trying to get to the bottom of the 2020 fraud, because I've heard a lot of people argue this both ways, but do you think there's a possibility that if it's proven that election was fraudulently stolen, does that null and void every decision he makes, including the appointment of Kajani James Jackson, the woman that doesn't even know what a woman is? If she needs me to help her, I'll draw that in Crown for her, because I think some of these people do in D.C. But does this draw into question, James, the pardons themselves? Does it draw into question his decisions, all the laws that he passed, the bills he signed? And that would be a true constitutional crisis. And I've had people say, yes, that is a possibility. Others say, no, it's never going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I hope it does happen, because I don't think that what he was doing was constitutional. And I think somebody would have an argument before the Supreme Court that his actions should be reversed.
Yeah, I get where you're going with all of that. I would throw in a note of caution there with pushing that button because you set a really dangerous precedent for the future. If you have one of these nut jobs that gets elected, every strategy you employ against Biden in that respect will be used against you in the future.
I will totally agree with that. Do you think that's why the Republicans are scared to nuke this filibuster? Let's talk about that real quick and we'll let you go. Because there seems to be a growing frustration with John Thune. I have been so disappointed. This man has single-handedly, President Trump has got no recess appointments whatsoever. And in light of other presidents, James, it's pathetic what Thune has single-handedly done to strap President Trump. And he's out there acting the victim tonight, saying, well, we just don't have the votes and we don't have this and we don't have that. Well, you're the House leader. You're the Senate leader. That's what your job is. But he's putting that on Trump. He's saying it's Trump's job. And there's the figure right there. Even Reagan had 240. Bush the first had 77. Bush the second had 171. This president, this Republican president, James has had zero. Zero. How do we do this? How do we let him do this?
Well, it's the James Akers answer to all of that is that Trump is fighting two battles. One's against the Democrats and the other one's against his own party.
I'll agree with that, but why it's sad that he is, though, is it not? I mean, that's sort of a sad state of affairs in D.C. that he's fighting against his own, even though I know you're right.
No, that's just the reality of the situation that he's in. Things that should be happening, are not happening, and it's because he can't get his own party to put on a pair of big boy pants and press ahead and get some things done.
Do you think there's that he said tonight he likes Thune, but he says if he don't get it together, he's not going to back him. And you've got rats like Tillis and Kennedy, both Cassidy and Kennedy of Louisiana. Kennedy's a lot of talk but no action. Cassidy just hates Trump because he got defeated. John Cronin's out there tonight, Cornyn, saying, well, what's the big deal? We need to go on a 37-day vacation. They ain't got the votes anyway. The way I look at it, Mr. Cornyn, is resign. If you don't want to do your job, resign. Let us get on with the business of the people. I don't care about you anymore. I don't care about Mitch McConnell. Andy Beshear tonight is basically telling Mitch, you need to give us more details of your health or resign. I don't think Andy Beshear believes that video that was put out, or that post that was put out by Mitch showing his wife at his bed. I think Andy Beshear knows more of the governor of Kentucky tonight than most Americans know, and he's trying to get Mitch out. And I have to give Beshear credit. I used to live there, and I'm not a big fan of Beshear, but I'm saying, yes, a Democrat governor with some sense.
Well, yeah. I'm not sure I ever want to give Beshear much credit for anything.
I don't either. I'm slow to do that, but I'm just saying he's right about this, that McConnell needs to give a true rendering of his health, and if he can't function, James, resign. What is it about these demagogues? And I'll let you wrap us up on this. Where have we gotten to the point that these demagogues will go to their graves with one finger on the coffin, literally going out with power, to hang on to power? They do not care how feeble and sick they get. That should not be allowed in the halls of Congress. And I think that Congress needs to pass a law that says, look, if you're incapacitated for more than a month, you're out, period. Sorry, don't pass go, don't collect $200, you're out.
No, I agree with you. You know where I stand on all of that. There should be term limits.
Amen.
If people become physically incapable of doing the job, then they need to go. And And I share with you the same disdain for people that overstay their term in office because they're enjoying the perks of office. There's important business of the country that's not getting done because these people are so selfish, they're hanging on past their time.
There is some rumor that it was McConnell actually that pushed Fauci on Trump. I know he pushed Amy Coney Barrett on him, but wouldn't that be something if it was determined that it was McConnell that put the idea in Trump's head to let Fauci take this over, which I thought was, again, I say it again tonight, I love President Trump. I think he's going to go down. We're going to miss him so much when he's gone. I think that when you get down to his 2 terms, one of the absolute biggest mistakes he ever made was letting that fraud get in front of that mic. I don't think that was his shining moment.
Well, I'm not as enthusiastic a Trump supporter as you are. I still support him because the alternative would have been so unthinkable in my eyes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what, with this situation with Iran right now?
Oh, Lord. Brother, they would be bombed. They'd be nuking. No, they'd be nuking the Middle East and holding us for extortion under Kamala Harris. And she would, I tell you what she would do. I think I would predict this. Kamala Harris would be forcing Israel to stop all efforts to defend herself from any attack on Iran. In other words, if Iran attacked Israel, I'm not so sure Kamala Harris wouldn't put the forces of America on the side of Iran. That's how wicked and evil she was, and still is. Dumb as rocks, but being dumb as rocks don't stop you from being evil, because we got a bunch of dumb as rocks, wicked individuals. I'm on a roll tonight, Acres. See what you've missed in 2 weeks since you haven't been with me, for goodness sake. All right.
And before you pull the plug on me here tonight,
I'm going to let you wrap us up. You go ahead and wrap us up and say what you got to say. Go ahead, man.
One of the true interesting politicians of our age passed away, and you saw the measure of respect they had.
Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham, and it is rare in America's political life in these days when there's an individual that commands respect from both sides of the aisle, was a person you wanted on your side and was a ferocious enemy if he was on the other side.
So true.
And that's Lindsey Graham, and he speaks to a vanishing breed. There just aren't that many that are walking the halls of Congress these days that enjoy the respect of both sides of the aisle. And we're going to miss him in terms of sort of common sense politics. And so, I'm one of those that was so sorry to hear of his passing.
I was too. Let me ask you this about him. I'm glad you brought him up, because that was one of my subjects I'm going to run by you tonight. Why do you think I know that me and you may differ a little bit on this too. I'm not a big fan of Ukraine. I'm certainly not a big fan of Russia. But it was like that Graham was so enamored with Zelensky, and he was always pushing for American aid. And I've been sharing this with my audience that even the best of politicians, even the best of men, and I think Lindsey Graham was a good man. I believe he was a man of faith. He was a man of character, integrity. I know that people don't believe that. I've seen some of the most vile posts by Christians about him that they should be ashamed of themselves. They should literally be ashamed of what they're saying, but they're not. But he had a blind spot when it came to Ukraine. Can you share any light on that? Why you think that was? Do you think his hatred for Russia went back to the Reagan days and to the days that Bush Jr. was in power? And what's your thoughts on all that? And we'll wrap this up with that, because that was the only thing I felt about him, that he was always defending the Ukraine, and I always felt the Ukraine was far more corrupt. If let me change that. They're both corrupt. Russia and the Ukrainians are corrupt. But he never saw the corruption of the Ukrainians unless he just saw it and didn't want to admit it.
Yeah, I guess, of course, no one knows these things, but I think it was his geopolitical stand that he viewed Russia as an evil empire, and the Ukrainians as standing against that empire. It was the same rationale, geostrategic rationale, that he used in the Middle East, in my opinion. It is the Israel against all of these countries that are trying to destroy it, and that it was, if you scratch it deep enough, a spiritual, moral cause. And I think he viewed Russia's invasion of Ukraine through that same set of lenses, and that's why I think he was such a staunch defender of the Ukraine.
Well, I'm with you on that, and I guess it remains to be seen. I felt like it was a great honor today that Bibi Netanyahu traveled all the way from Israel to be at his funeral. That says a lot. Zelensky was there, and I tell you somebody else that was there that I thought was very key, and that was Brett Kavanaugh. Brent Kavanaugh.
I saw that clip where he was standing there close to.
Lindsey Graham showed as much class and character fighting for Kavanaugh's nomination, and to slap down these slanderous, lying, and I got a lot of words I'd like to use for these Democrats, including Kamala Harris, that was dragging this complete. And I got another word for Catherine Bosley Ford I can't use on my show tonight, but I want to. And basically backing a liar. She was nothing but a pathetic liar. None of those claims were proven. None of those claims were righteous. None of those claims were right. But in this toxic world of slander, that slander becomes truth, and truth becomes slander, I will never, ever, ever have a respect for any of those Democrats that were on that committee. And but Lindsey Graham slammed them to their face that day, and I think that was one of the most defining moments of his life when he stood for Brett Kavanaugh, and I think Brent Kavanaugh remembered it. I watched him and his wife today, and I remember the scenes of her crying in that room as they were tearing her husband to pieces over nothing. A yearbook, James, a yearbook, going back to high school. And that's how crazy and toxic our politics have become. And this is how crazy this country's become. And I'm going to tell you this as I close, and I'll let you wrap us up. We're going to pay a price for this. God is going to hold us accountable for treating these leaders like Lindsey Graham the way we did for Brett Kavanaugh, Trump, all of them. That's trying to do good for the country. And when we get tired of trashing them, God's going to give us the leaders that we want. And they're waiting in the wing. Like Mandami, Bernie Sanders, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar. You know, God saying, I tell you what, I've sent you these people to help you. You don't want them, I'll send you somebody that's going to destroy you. And I think we better take note of that. All right, that's my soapbox number 2. You got 2 minutes, final thoughts, and we'll wrap us up, man. It's good to see you tonight. We had a good talk. It's a good discussion. Real good show tonight.
I enjoyed being on your show as always. What strikes me is that in this age of toxic, as you put it, political fracturing in this country, both sides of the aisle showed up to pay their respects to Lindsey Graham, as well as ambassadors from all over the world.
Yes,
that's a yardstick of respect that everybody held for this individual. And I'll go back to my statement. He's a dying breed. There just aren't many of those, if any, left these days inside the Beltway.
Totally agree, buddy. Totally agree. Well, man, listen, you outdid yourself tonight. I'm going to say goodnight to these folks and keep them for a little bit more longer. they ain't heard me run my mouth just by myself for a while, so I've got to fire the troops up a little bit before I go home tonight. But listen, I want to thank you, and I'll see you soon. Get better, and I'm praying for you. And you're a cherished friend, and I really, really appreciate your hospitality, your just friendship to me, and it's been a wonderful couple of years getting to know you, and I'm grateful for you. And I'll see you soon, my friend.
Thank you very much, and right back at you, Chris.
Sounds good, buddy.
God bless you, my friend.
Go Reds, and take the Bengals with you. Only James Akers.
We'll be talking about that before too long.
Absolutely, buddy. James Akers appreciates that comment more than anybody ever know. All righty. Have a good night, buddy. Take care. Good night.
Good night.
James Akers, everybody. And that is my buddy. That's my baseball buddy. And I appreciate him. And Lord have mercy. Did you enjoy James tonight? If you did, put some fire in that house. And, man, y'all must have been listening, because I didn't see too many comments while he was going. And that's good, because I wanted him to do the talking. But if y'all enjoyed him tonight out there, put some fire in that house for him. Good to see Susan Pruski in the house. Good to see Bear. Mary Cleveland, all you folks, good to see you tonight. Cleo's in the house. Marcia, good to see you back. I'm sorry you've been under the weather. Janice Myers is in the house. Good to see her tonight. And had a lot of folks over on Facebook. Debbie and Dean Courtwright, good to see you guys. Dennis, good to see you. Gene Campbell, Pat and Deb Dolan. Tim Neal Sr.'s in the house tonight. Good to see you. John Mertz, good to see you. And others. Roger Hooker. Roger, it was mass fear without a doubt. It was a lot of mass ugliness. Lisa and Jim Esco, good to see y'all tonight. Bless y'all. All righty. Now, I'm going to do a few videos for you here tonight. It's 11:15. I'm not going to keep you long. I want to play this by Jesse Waters tonight on Clay Travis's comments about Fauci. Roll the tape, and we'll talk about it. Roll the tape.
Yeah, Fauci belongs in prison for the rest of his life, and I'm not over it. And I expect, unfortunately, Jesse, that Fauci will take the fifth on everything. His lawyers will probably advise him that because he was such a moron that he had an 1,100-page diary that directly contradicted many of the public comments that he was making, that Rand Paul will tear him apart limb from limb in a metaphorical sense if he tries to answer questions here. For anybody out there like me that is a lawyer, all of this diary is admissible under hearsay exemptions, so he can't hide that way. And I think Fauci is a coward. And as much as I would like to have a moment, as we were talking about on the Clay and Buck show, where you have a Nathan Jessup versus Tom Cruise back in A Few Good Men, where Fauci really goes head to head with Rand Paul, and Rand Paul gets him to admit that he's been lying for the entirety of this COVID era. I think Fauci's going to do what he's often done. He's going to run and hide. He's going to use the Fifth Amendment. And unfortunately, I think, Jesse, the message here is you can lie for years to the American public. You can be rewarded. You can flirt with Jessica, Julia Roberts, and all those old chicks that he was, Bette Midler, that he was bragging about interacting with. And there are no consequences. And unfortunately, I think this has destroyed a lot of trust in the American public, right? The reason why people don't trust the government now, I think to a large extent, is because they lied to us about everything during COVID. And many of us, myself among them, are not over it. I mean, what they did to our kids, they kept them out of the schools. The fact that they kept people from being able to be around their families unless you happened to be George Floyd. You couldn't protest George Floyd unless you were out there against the police.
Yep, and that's great. That was the minute and a half clip. Here's Jesse Waters tonight with more on Fauci and Biden together. Roll tape.
You know how they always say you should never read a little girl's diary? Well, they never said anything about a grown man's. We got our hands on Dr. Anthony Fauci's diary. And viewer warning, we're going to read from it.
We're going to pause it here and there. So it's about a 10-minute clip, so bear with me. We're going to take your questions, so don't go nowhere. We're going to play a few videos. We've got a lot more videos coming Thursday night, but I want to play this. I'm going to talk about these communists too, and a few other things, and then we're going to give you a shot on this extended McFiles Tuesday night.
And it's going to make you very angry. Now, I know what you're thinking. It feels a little invasive reading another person's diary, but this isn't just anyone. This is a man responsible for devastating lockdowns and for funding the type of experiments that may have caused 1 million American deaths. If there's a theme from this diary, which is over 1,000 pages, it is this. Dr. Anthony Fauci is dishonest, almost always wrong, and is intoxicated with fame. As thousands of Americans were dying every day, here's what America's top doctor wrote, secretly to himself. Dear Diary, the press is going wild with me. It is not a hyperbole to say that today I am the most famous and talked about person in the country and one of the most recognizable persons in the world.
That's what he was after. That's what he cared about. He didn't care about you. Didn't care about your families. Don't care about your dead loved ones. He didn't care about the mask. He didn't care about the sicknesses. Didn't care about the vaccinations killing people. Didn't care about any of that. He cared about himself being one of the most recognizable people in the world. Trump was wrong for putting him in that place. I'll get to that in a minute. I'm not blaming Trump for that. It was a mistake. You can't fix it now. But he had an evil, wicked individual along with Deborah Birch in that podium directing the country to hell.
The situation with my national and international fame is explosive and really unimaginable. The press is still hot and heavy about me. POTUS seems to be enamored of me, even though I am taking the spotlight away from him. Now, Fauci's writing about the press like it's a woman he's making love to. During the lockdowns, Fauci apparently spent hours Googling himself, reading every article, even going into the comments section. Anthony was on Tyra Banks' Instagram page, America's top model. He writes, Dear Diary, one person said that Tyra was sexy, but that I was even more sexy than she was.
By the way, let me remind you, I don't think I need to, this is a grown man writing this. This wasn't some teenager. This wasn't some 20-year-old or 30-year-old. This was a grown man, probably in his 70s, writing like a sixth grader that was in charge of the health policy of this country for 2 years and killed millions.
And Fauci agreed. He clicked on a petition to name him sexiest man alive, and he memorialized that over 10,000 people signed it. Didn't win, but as a consolation, they cast America's sexiest man alive to play him.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Anthony Fauci. First, I'd like to thank all the older women in America who have sent me supportive, inspiring, and sometimes graphic emails. Now, there's been a lot of misinformation out there about the virus. And yes, the president has taken some liberties with our guidelines.
Fauci kind of felt like Brad Pitt. They all wanted selfies with me, he wrote. They even wanted him on Dancing with the Stars. The Fauci-meister was enamored with the stars, who suddenly, not sure how, got a hold of his cell. Dear Diary, had a great call with Barbara Streisand. I told her that I work listening to her songs on Alexa. She really did not know what Alexa was. I accidentally butt called her later in the evening. I brought the phone over to Alexa and asked to play songs by Barbara Streisand. And when the song came on loud and clear, she started laughing and absolutely loved it.
What is infuriating with this to me already? This is the mentality of the person that was supposed to be in charge of trying to direct the country to a safe place of health at a time a weapon, a bioweapon, was being released upon this country in the mask of a virus. It was not the flu. It was not the cold. This was something that was unique that none of us had seen, folks. I'd never seen anything like this. I'd never been as sick as this. I've been reading some of your comments out there already. Some of you lost parents, lost loved ones. Some of you yourself were sick with this. I don't think there's anybody that had this would tell you this was some normal flu. This was way beyond normal. Nothing about it was normal. It was evil. I had never seen this virus do what it did to people's bodies, their hearts, their lungs. I mean, there were nights I couldn't breathe. There were many of you that couldn't breathe without the mask. It was ungodly what went down. This guy was more concerned about butt dialing Barbara Streisand than he was about the million people that were dying. Trump got blamed for this. It was on him. The media protected him. Hollywood protected him. And many churches did too.
As someone who always considered himself a celebrity, finally the doctor was getting his due. Unfortunately, for Fauci to achieve celebrity status, Americans had to suffer. But Fauci knew he was destined for greatness. Even back in 2013, he wrote in his diary that he was a rock star and that the government was trying to keep him off TV because everyone was so jealous. 7 years later, his time had come and he was going to ride it.
Here's one that says, I got my first dose of the Fauci ouchie. I told him that I bought his bobblehead and he was super cool about it.
I saw your bobblehead today.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was great.
PPL made fun of these Dr. Fauci prayer candles, but we got my dad one for his birthday in November. So he lit it every night and everyone in my immediate family was fully vaccinated. So maybe there's something there.
Was Dr. Fauci busy trying to slow the spread?
Nope.
Well, apparently he had plenty of time to write about his face being plastered everywhere. Dear Diary, donuts are being named after me. T-shirts have my picture on them and are being sold. San Francisco radio is dedicating a song to me, coloring pictures with crayons for my picture.
I would like to color his picture with crayons. I've got a lot of things I would say about him to write in crayon. But this is a family show. This is a family show.
Me. Fauci even saved cartoons of himself, of him looking like a superhero. Hero was actually one of his favorite words. In his diary, he mentioned it 50 times. His favorite word, though, not N95 or natural immunity, those words barely uttered. It was press. Press, mentioned over 600 times. For Fauci, doing press was like watching porn.
The single most respected voice in the pandemic, it's Dr. Anthony Fauci.
The man who's become known as America's doctor. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease doctor.
Who are seen to many as a superhero.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, American hero.
And that, I'm going to pause this right here because I want to get to more stuff tonight. I don't want to waste 10 minutes of it on Dr. Fauci. That's just a sampling. That's just a sampling of the diary. And we're going to play more of that Thursday night. We've got it shared on our McFiles 45X account. But that gives you an idea of the mentality of a monster, the mentality of a fraudster, the mentality of an individual that did not care one iota about a country dying and one iota about families having to watch their loved ones die in nursing homes, to mask up, to not share Christmas dinner, to not share Thanksgiving dinner with families, to be alienated, isolated, intimidated, fired, lose pensions, lose money, lose their livelihood, that many of them have never gotten back. That was not his concern. No. Again, his concern was butt dialing Barbara Streisand and being called a hero by the same media. That media that you just saw was part of this problem, folks. They were just as dishonest. And by the way, the same media tonight that was calling him hero, they are absolutely silent. Absolutely silent on this revelation of the diary tonight. Somebody posted this all day today. AP, USA Today, Time, CNN, CBS, Newsweek, Washington Post, Reuters, The Atlantic, MSNBC, Bloomberg, Politico, New York Times, ABC, NBC, PBS, NPR, Wall Street Journal even, LA Times. These are the enemy of the people. They have not mentioned his diary once today. Not one. They're going to have to do something tomorrow because he's going to be on the Hill. But many of them likely will do to this story what they did with President Trump's announcement the other night about the election fraud. I'd pull their license. I don't know why they've not done that. They should pull the license of every one of these lying media outlets and make sure that they don't air anything again. But anyway, that's Dr. Fauci. This is Jake Tapper. This sort of gives you an idea of the fraud and the hypocrisy of Fauci and the media.
Ideological rigidity, I think. There's no reason not to get vaccinated. Why are we having red?
He was telling people there's absolutely no reason not to get vaccinated, knowing good and well if we played the video on out, which we will Thursday night, he's going to say it in his diary. He knew the vaccination wasn't working. He knew the vaccine wasn't needed. He considered this the same thing that some people were saying it was a hybrid form of the flu. He actually said that, but on CNN, by the way, him and Jake had dinners together behind the scenes. He was calling Jake privately. Jake was calling him privately, talking points. Chris Cuomo, all of them, Dana Bash, and I got names for these people. But that's a lot what he just said there, folks. He said it bold-faced on CNN, and anybody that disagreed with it, I want you to listen to what he blames for the resistance to it. And by the way, another thing that you might remember, you see that little white strip, U.S. cases climb to 19,000 per day as Delta variant spreads. They had a little ticker, and I'm surprised it wasn't on this one. When Trump was running for re-election, CNN had a ticker tape, literally, of the deaths worldwide of this virus every single day. Every single day. And when Joe Biden got in office and got elected, they took that down. COVID continued in 21 after Joe Biden got elected in 2020, but they didn't want to highlight the deaths under Biden. It was all about Trump. And that was posted again as Trump was running. But I want you to listen to this coming up. This is about a 40-second clip. Listen to Fauci. Listen to Fauci, who he blames for the resistance to the vaccine.
Vaccinated. Why are we having red states and places in the South that are very highly ideological in one way, not wanting to get vaccination?
I tell you what, dumb blank. Because we have a brain. And we knew the vaccine was killing people. I didn't judge people that took it. You want to take it, kill yourself, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not even going to tell you that you're taking the mark of the beast like some stupid Christians were doing. I'm not going to say that. I had a pastor friend that's gone on to be with Jesus. He set me down one night. He said, please tell me you're not one of these that believe that taking the vaccine 666. I said, no. What are you talking about? He said, half my church believes if you take it, you're taking the mark of the beast. No, you're not taking the mark of the beast, but taking the vaccination itself was killing you more than COVID would have killed you. We try to tell people that. Got taken down for that. People thought we were giving medical advice for that. No, I wasn't giving you medical advice. I was giving you my opinion. I'm not going to take the vaccine. You want to take it, take it. You don't want to take it, don't take it. We tried to warn people, and they still took it. I tried to warn my own father. He took it. He's blaming the red states. He's blaming us Southerners. We had a brain, Mr. F. Mr. F, the fraud. That's why we didn't want to take your vaccine. You stupid moron. Excuse me, Lord. Stupidity wrapped up in evil. The arrogance of this man alone should put him in prison for the rest of his natural-born life. And the more I listen to these things 5 years later, in the aftermath, and maybe perhaps, if this doesn't do nothing tomorrow, if he pleads the fifth, and he goes in there and he doesn't say nothing, it will show the world the evil and the hypocrisy of this media and Hollywood and all of them. It's amazing that Julia Roberts ain't having all giddy videos tonight about him when all this is coming out. I've not heard from her. I've not heard from Brad Pitt. I've not heard from Barbara Streisand. I've not heard from Kim Kardashian, that little teenage laughing stock that was on the TikTok. I saw your little bobblehead. I ain't heard from her. I don't know who she was anyway. It's amazing, Ethel. I feel like I'm going to have the big one. It's amazing how they go silent. But I'm going to tell Fauci something. You want to know why we red staters and we Southerners didn't take your stupid virus? Because we had a brain. We had a brain.
And places in the South that are very highly ideological in one way, not wanting to get vaccinations. Vaccinations have nothing to do with politics. It's a public health issue. It doesn't matter who you are. The virus doesn't know whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent.
No, it don't, Fauci. It don't know whether you're an independent Republican or Democrat, but you sure was the arm of the Democrat Party trying to control the people to destroy Trump. And you succeeded in doing that for 2020, but the joke's on you. You let your diary get out, and now we know you were just lying. Of course, those of us with a brain, we already knew it. We already knew it. We already knew it, that these masks were hideous. We already knew it, that we didn't need to be standing 6 feet apart, and we didn't need to stop having Thanksgiving together, and we didn't need to stop having Christmas dinner together, and we didn't need to stop going to church. But you folks convinced preachers to do that.
For sure, we know that. And yet,
no, you don't know it for sure. You never knew it for sure.
Vaccinated and not wanting to get vaccinated, which is really unfortunate because it's losing lives.
Excuse me while I choke on some bullshit. It was not the vaccine not taking it that lost a life. It was people that took it that lost life. It killed people. It killed people. Infuriates me. I'm with you. Pat, was it Pat or no? Glenn Campbell out there tonight. Mr. Campbell said it's infuriating me to getting me fired up. I hope it's getting everybody fired up.
The conservative political conference, CPAC, is going on this weekend.
And Jake Tapper, I didn't play the whole video, it's about a 40-second clip. He went on to trash the APAC and the CPAC folks and conservatives that were resisting this and common sense people. Folks, as I said, I've tasted this. I lost my channel 3 times in a matter of a month, 3 months, 2 months, whatever. I was sick as a dog. I was struggling. There was a lot of things going on that year I don't want to get into. It was one of the darkest, loneliest. I don't think I've ever, in all of my life, I've had some tough years, and we've had some bumps since then. But I don't think we ever went through what we went through that year of 21. And I remember in January coming back from D.C., and the Lord told me, He spoke to my heart that day in that car. He said, things are coming this year that are about to change again. And He said, you got to turn this show to faith. He said, you've got to get the people to get their attention on me for what's coming. And I did not know what He meant that day, but a year later I did. And I came this close to dying twice. I'd never been as sick in my life as I was those 6 weeks. And then this jackanapes telling us that the vaccine would have saved our life. No, the vaccination would have sent you on a spiraling road right into the grave. Right into the grave. And I got no problem saying it. And for all you that took it, that you thought you were, that didn't take it, that think you were getting the mark of the beast, you were just as stupid as the people that took it. Sorry for saying that tonight. That probably sounds a little harsh. But you had Christians out there posting stuff like that. And then the conspiracy Q people was posting crap like that. No, folks. Common sense would have told you, if the government's pushing something on you, that alone should have been a red flag. Whether you were taking the mark of the beast or not, of course, if people would just read their Bibles, they would have known it wasn't. But that's another thing that I don't want to get into tonight. But this masking up. I saw somebody today. I was driving around town and I saw somebody. It was at 90 degrees here today. People still wearing them. There's still people wearing masks. And when I was up north, I saw a lot of people wear masks up in New England, New York area. Still wearing masks. Still masked up. 5 years later. You can't help that. There's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do. Nothing you can do. All righty. I'm going to stop before I get myself in real bad trouble tonight. We'll talk about that more Thursday night. That was so much arrogance. This is Katie Pavlich. I do want to play one more video on Fauci. We're going to talk about him more Thursday night with
The
Leslie.
single most respected voice in the pandemic. It's Dr. Anthony Fauci.
The man who's become known as America's doctor.
The nation's top infectious disease expert, Anthony Fauci.
You are seen to many as a superhero.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, American hero and New York Yankee fan.
You've done so much for this country in terms of this crisis, so I really appreciate your insight.
Who better to give us answers that we can trust than Dr. Anthony Fauci?
The Easter Bunny.
The perfect person to answer our questions today. Joining us now, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, appreciate your candor.
Dr. Fauci, appreciate the candor.
We appreciate your service to this country.
We appreciate your service.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
This is what you call being brainwashed. This is what you're called. You remember those commercials or that, it was I don't know if it was a commercial or meme. This is your brain. It had a picture of a real brain. And then it had a picture of your brain deflated. This is what your brain looks like on drugs. A cooked egg on the street. Y'all remember those? I remember those. This is what it looks like to have your brain on meth. This is what it means to be brainwashed and to brainwash the American public. These are the agents of evil, the agents of brainwashing, the agents of manipulation, the agents of intimidation. By the way, we call that spiritual and political witchcraft.
Greatly appreciate your service to America.
Thank you for your 37 years of service, I believe, to 7 presidents, and thank you for your work over the past year.
The great news is you're sticking around in the Biden administration. We are so grateful to you, Dr. Fauci, for everything you do.
Thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you very much for everything that you do.
Thanks so much for the work that you do.
Thank you very much for the reassurance. And
Yeah, thank you so much for what you did, Ant. You killed 1 million people. You killed 1 million people. You let 1 million people die, and you were worried about butt calls from Barbara. You were worried about that, but you wasn't caring about people dying in nursing homes and controlling people and doing the things you're doing. Thanks a lot. The media was just as seared with their conscience as he was. Just as evil. Just as evil. Mr. Campbell, I'm ready to say this. I'm with you tonight. I'm fired up about it too. Fired up about it too. By the way, I think this is Joe showing hypocrisy. This was him telling 60 Minutes about Trump's documents. I'm going to keep you for about 10 more minutes. I'm going to take your questions.
When you saw the photograph of the top secret documents laid out on the floor at Mar-a-Lago, what did you think to yourself, looking at that image?
How that could possibly happen. How anyone could be that irresponsible. And I thought, what data was in there that may compromise sources and methods?
Wow.
By that I mean names of people who helped, or et cetera. And it's just totally irresponsible.
Now that was right before they raided Mar-a-Lago. This is why he didn't want you to hear those tapes. You're talking about Nixon having problems with tapes. Joe, I don't know if you could pardon yourself, but you might need to.
So this was early on. In 2009, I just found all the classified stuff downstairs.
He was speaking of his house, not Trump's. That was 2009. I want you to listen to that again. Biden's own words.
So this was early on. In 2009, I just found all the classified stuff downstairs.
And there's another one that we're going to try to play Thursday night that basically was recorded right before he left office. And this is when they did the special counsel investigations, right before the terrible debate. Basically said the same thing. He said, yeah, I've still got stuff in my basement that shouldn't be there. But they didn't raid him. No, they raided Mar-a-Lago and hoped Trump would make a mistake so they could kill him. Not good. Not good. This is why this figure is so important too right now.
Voters favoring photo ID to vote. Among all voters, we're talking 77%. And this is uniform, basically, or universal, I should say. Universal. Democrats, 62%. Independents, 77%. Republicans, 95%. This is something that is popular across the political spectrum. It is a rare thing that is popular across the political spectrum. When it comes to voter ID, the voters are with President Trump on this, whether they're Democrats, Independents, or Republicans. Overall, very clear. We're talking about 3 and 4 overall who support the idea of photo ID in order to.
This is CNN today when the Fauci diary was brought up. If you don't believe the media is evil and crooked, watch this video. This is Abby Phillips, who's got the brain of a 5-year-old. How she is on, well, actually, it is CNN, so that should tell me why she could be a journalist and a host of a show on CNN. Watch this, though. Watch how they react when the young lady brings up the Fauci diary, how they act.
I think we need to have transparency around what's going on. I think we need to have transparency around what's going on. I think one situation that, frankly, where we saw the government was certainly obfuscating, didn't have any transparency, was Anthony Fauci, who we're getting his diaries today, where he was perfect.
You see that? You see what they did? You see how they acted, reacted? Why are you talking about that? Why are you talking about that? Why are you talking about that? If the reverse would have been opposite, if this would have been Trump's diary that they found, they all would have been chiming in. This is witchcraft, folks. This is spiritual delusion, spiritual consciences being seared, people blind. But let me tell you what's worse. It's not just them on that panel that feel that way. There are people out in the public that believe this.
Obfuscating about Anthony that's actually something where we know he was purposely obfuscating.
We're sitting here talking about Americans who were killed in theater.
You see what they're trying to do? They're blaming Trump for Americans killed in theater. I didn't get a chance to talk with James about the soldiers we lost. CNN's trying to bring that up. We've had some soldiers lost, and they're trying to make a deal of that, but yet they don't want to talk about the 1 million people that died under COVID and under Fauci rules. That's CNN. That's the Crap News Network. That should show you what kind of folks you're dealing with there, folks. All righty, a couple more things. I wish I had more time tonight, but I don't, because I want to get your take on a few things and wrap this up tonight. There was one thing I wanted to play. This is President Trump today. I love our president. He has got a wonderful sense of humor. And he was speaking, of course, today at the Lindsey Graham funeral. I want to say this about Lindsey Graham. As I said a while ago, I've seen some pretty vile stuff. I really have written about Lindsey and on Christian boards and whatever you call them. I don't even know what you call them these days. I think Lindsey Graham will be missed by this country. I agree with James. He was a statesman on both sides. If the Democrats have not lost, if they wouldn't have lost their natural born minds and gone so far left, we could talk to the Dems. There could be some mutual things we could agree on from both parties. But you're dealing with people that they don't want America. All they want is to destroy Trump. But they want to destroy you. They want to do to you what they did to us in 21. They want to control us. So there's no negotiating. Lindsey tried his best to do that. But him and Trump were not buddy-buddy at the beginning. And President Trump mentioned this today. It was hilarious. And I remember this. And I remember Lindsey Graham doing the commercial after this. But I want you to watch this. This is why I love my president. Roll tape.
As you remember, Lindsey and I did not exactly get off to the best of starts. Running against each other. Back in 2016, Lindsey said something rather nasty on his flight to becoming the next president of the United States. So naturally, I did something that I shouldn't have done. I shared his personal cell phone number with the millions of people that happened to be watching that particular day as I made a speech, a very important speech. And I remember the number 202-228-0292 if anybody wants to give it a shot. His phone exploded. He said, I had that number for 20 years. His phone totally, I don't know what he did with it, but it exploded. That was the beginning of a friendship in a way. But it was Lindsey who had the last laugh because while I blew up his phone for one day, we became great friends, and Lindsey did not stop calling me for the next 10 years. It was not easy.
And that's President Trump. And I will tell you this. By the way, if you're not following our page on Facebook, I noticed some of you, I'm seeing you comment, and it tells me you're not following our post. Please click that follow button. Please click the like button. Please click the share button tonight to get the algorithms going on this one. This is a good one tonight. But one thing about President Trump, I respect, and I respected this about Lindsey. They, as Trump said, did not get along. They did not get along at the beginning. they were political enemies. Lindsey didn't make it any secret. He was not a fan of Donald Trump. He was more a fan of John McCain. And there were a lot of other people on that stage. I would have thought Jeb Bush probably, and Marco Rubio and other people in the Senate, even Huckabee, Lindsey would probably back before he had ever backed Trump. He was on that stage at the beginning, at the first, and that's when all this brouhaha started in 2016. And to Trump's credit and to Lindsey's credit, they became men. They acted like adults. They buried the hatchet after the primaries was over. Graham became one of President Trump's most ardent supporters. As I said, there were times that I questioned, as many of you did, his support for Ukraine. Folks are just human. They're going to have blind spots, and Lindsey had his, and that was what it is. I didn't agree with his support of Ukraine. I felt like that any money going over there was extortion money, and we're finding out that the Bidens were being blackmailed by China, and I think they were being blackmailed by Zelensky too. That's just my thought. And I'm not saying Russia is any more pure or any more better, because they're just as corrupt as the Ukrainians are. And if the Ukrainians and the Russians want to keep killing themselves, folks, there's nothing America can do to stop it. I mean, if that's what they want, I mean, what can you do? But sending money to one side over the other is wrong. I've never agreed with that. Never. Lindsey did. That's where we had a disagreement. But him and Trump, for the most part, worked together in that first term, and he definitely helped President Trump in his second term. And I would have loved to have seen him be Senate leader. I don't know why he didn't run for that. His sister is turning out to be a jewel already. And I do want to show you one thing tonight, because we're going to talk about this more Thursday night with Leslie. The Save America Act, 9 senators have basically told Thune to pound sand about them going, they got music with that. Isn't that cool? That's a live thing there. But that's Mike Lee, Rick Scott, Tommy Tuberville. Not an Auburn fan. Sorry, Auburn fans, but I love Tommy Tuberville. I'd almost root for Auburn because of him. There's Katie Britt from Alabama. There's Miss Graham right there on the middle right there in the white jacket. That's Lindsey Graham's sister. And then there's some other folks down below. Haggerty from my state of Tennessee. He's a good man. And there are some others. But 9 senators tonight have told Thune, we're not leaving until we bring this Save the American Act to the floor. And if 77% of the country, including Democrats, Independents, and Republicans, support it, John Thune, get your head out of the sand. Please. Bring it to the floor. Let people vote. These 9 senators are brave. They're courageous. There should be 90 of them instead of the 9, but because we got a feckless Republican Senate and a feckless Democrat Senate, we only got 9. Where's Kennedy from Louisiana in that thing? Where's Jim? Jim's not a senator, but there's other senators that should be on that list tonight that are not. Marsha Blackburn comes out late tonight and does it. She should have been on that list. But anyway, what I was saying about Lindsey and Trump, they found a way to overcome their differences and work together for the good of the country. They didn't act like a bunch of petulant children, hold grudges. Trump, you heard, make the joke about it. And Trump has done that with a lot of people. There's a lot of people that he knows good and well that they would stick a knife up his back as good as look at him. But he tries to be friendly to them. He tries to do the right thing. And he gets rewarded with betrayal. Lindsey Graham stayed true to Trump to the very end of his life. And I respect Lindsey Graham. I really believe he was a child of God. I believe he was a Christian. Just reading some of his posts and just reading some things about him, his faith was strong. He loved Israel. He cared for Israel. That's why Bibi Netanyahu was over here today. You don't get prime ministers flying 13 hours for senators. Bibi Netanyahu did that today. Zelensky did it today. I'm no fan of Zelensky, but I respect him for coming. I'm grateful he came. I'm grateful Brent Kavanaugh was in that audience today. And as James said, both Democrat and Republican was in there. That's a testimony to Graham's ability to get along with everybody that could get along with him. There were many that didn't want to get along with him, and I'm grateful that him and President Trump settled their differences. That should be a lesson to us out here in this country, that if we don't come together and we don't settle our differences and get this petulant, childish behavior put under the blood and stop acting like a bunch of kids, sixth graders on a playground throwing sand at each other, we're going to lose the nation. I'm not so sure we ain't already lost it, but we're going to lose it if we don't come together. Stop this petulant behavior that we're acting like. And this is my show, and this is the McFiles, and it's a late night, and Chris can say what he wants to say. You don't have to agree with it, but that's how I feel about it. I've never seen Christians act like a bunch of petulant, ignorant wretches and cut off their nose to spite their face, as my dear late mother used to say, my dad. We cut our nose off to spite our face, thinking that we're carrying a holy agenda by opposing everything that Trump does and everything that he says and everything that he's trying to do for the country. We got to find some angle to cuss about, some angle to fret about, some angle to question, some accusation that we can share, some salacious gossip we can share, I know some things, but I'm not going to tell you, but I'll just say that I know certain things. You don't know dirt. You don't know dirt. All this QAnon stuff. It's like we're on meth. We're worse than Anthony Fauci. We're worse than the media. It's time we grow up. Folks, we got a communist takeover. Graham was seeing it. He recognized it. I may not have agreed with him about Ukraine, but I respected the man's service to our country. But you've got Christians trashing his character and name tonight. That's on us. That's on us. He was a good man. He's going to be missed. We don't have that statesmanship in Washington. We just don't. We just don't. On either side of the aisle. And President Trump, I think, learned some lessons from that. And I think I've watched him mellow in that area in this second term. And it's been good for the country. It's been good for him. But he's not dealing with honest brokers in D.C. no more than he's dealing with honest brokers with Iran. And he's doing the best he can. He's doing everything he can to give them grace and mercy. And all that's being done is returned with betrayal. Sort of know the feeling. Sort of know the feeling. And I'm telling you tonight, neighbor, it's time. It's time that we grow up. I'll amen myself. I'll amen myself. Anyway. Yep. All right. I'm done. I'm not done, but I'm done. All righty. Let's, if you've got anything to say, we got about 5 minutes. We've been going right at 2 hours now. Actually, I've been going an hour and 50, so I'm going to take 10 more minutes, and we'll have a 2-hour McFile. If you got something to say tonight, I'll read your questions. If you're going to say hello, Mac, man, at least tell me who you are. Jay says, let's see, Cleo said something a while ago, and I thought it was powerful. Fauci is a modern-day Joseph Goebbels. She is absolutely correct. For those of you that don't know who Joseph Goebbels was, he was the propaganda machine of the Nazi Party. While they were killing 6 million Jews, Joseph Goebbels was out there lying about it, hiding it, twisting the facts, twisting the Germans' fate, what they were really up to, lying to the world. The world believed it. It was deception. Hitler would, can you imagine tonight, folks, can you imagine Adolf Hitler with an X account? Or if he had had social media like today, if he'd had this evil press, which he had a lot of people in America supporting him, he had a lot of people in Germany supporting him that shouldn't have been. But if you think about the manipulation that he would have had over these masses, Adolf Hitler would be probably being praised, and he's already being praised by this Democrat socialist, because Hitler was a socialist. He hated the communists. That's why he went to war with Russia. But his fascism and socialism was the same. It was just more economic, where communism was more of a military. But Hitler was a communist too. The world couldn't tell the difference. I think it's a great point, friend. He is a Joseph Goebbels. He is a Joseph Goebbels. Tia says the majority of people, Tia Z says the majority of people I know. Oh, Chris Allman. I'm so sorry, Chris. Oh, my goodness. Duh. I should know that. I feel bad. I'm gonna have to go buy him a steak dinner now. I feel stupid tonight. It's late, man. It's good to see you tonight. I'll gonna have lunch with you soon. Duh. I'm sorry. It's been a long 2 weeks, buddy. It's been a long 2 weeks. I'm sorry. Chris Altman, thank you, Cleo, for saving me. Lord have mercy. It's good to see him in the house. Hadn't seen him in the house in a while. No, what y'all think about it? What would Hitler think about Hitler with social media? What would have happened to the countries? What would have happened to the world? Fauci is a Joseph Goebbels. Fauci was a Joseph Goebbels. He's worse. Both men had the blood of millions on their hands. So does Fauci tonight. Good to see you, Almond Bar. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Anything anybody wants to say? Anybody, anything you got to say? Say it. Chris Davis, you're asking a question. I've told you that you're foolish to ask, my friend. You can't ask why. Nobody knows why. I got reasons. I mean, you can ask that till you're blue in the face. Nobody can tell you why these people act the way they act. Simple. They're full of the devil. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's just full of the devil. We can't analyze it. There's no need to psychologically analyze it. It's not just liberals, Chris. It's conservatives, too. I mean, there's people on the right that's just as crazy. And I mean, it's not, we don't need to tie this to just liberals. No, the country at large. The country at large is in a fog. The country at large is in some kind of spiritual, meth-induced fog. And Chris, let me tell you something. It wasn't just liberals that were masking up, buddy. It wasn't liberals that were just vaccinating themselves. No, it wasn't just liberals that was believing this crap that was coming from the government. And you heard what Fauci said. He pointed down south. He said, them Southerners down there in these red states, he said, I don't understand why they didn't want to take my vaccine. We didn't want to take it, moron, because we knew it was killing us. We knew it was killing us. And we had a brain. But there was a lot of conservative friends of mine that took the vaccine. I did not get mad at them. I did not judge them. I said, if that's what you want to do, knock yourself out. But where I had a problem with it was when they were telling us to take it or lose our jobs. Take it or shut your church down. Take it or your family can't meet for Thanksgiving dinner. Take it or you get kicked out of the military. And you folks, y'all know this. I mean, thank God my family, we didn't have this problem at the holidays, but there are many a family that told me, my sister or my brother told me, if you don't get vaccinated, you're not coming over here. And then the other end of that, if somebody was vaccinated, the people that wasn't vaccinated wouldn't let them come worship or have Christmas dinner with them. Sort of nutty stuff, isn't it? That's just nutty. But that's what we became as a country. It's what we became as a country for 2 years, almost 3. And I still see some of it now. It's sort of died down now thanks to Trump, but goodness gracious. Chris, it ain't about liberalism or conservative. Look, there's a lot of conservatives that can't judge liberals too much. We're just as in on it as they were. This was a pretty much whether you wanted to be free or not, or you have the government tell you what to do. The government was never intended by God for any government to tell their citizens what to do. The government's to protect their citizens from this very thing of tyranny. And when the government begins to be the tyrants, that's when we rebel. That is when we've got a legal and a godly right to stand up against such tyranny. And I don't care what your persuasion is. But to ask the question why, futile. Futile. It's futile. I'll amen myself on that one. Anyway. Any other thing? Good to see you. Almond Bar in the house tonight. Hadn't seen him. Winston, you say nepotism sucks. I don't know what that means, sir. If you're saying the Trump nepotism, what are you talking about? Who's nepotism? Trump's not got none of his people in government. None of his sons are in his government. And I know that there's a lot of theory out there and people that Don Jr.'s next after him or Eric. Neither one of those boys will run for president. Don Jr. may be down the road, but I don't see that happening. I don't want a Trump dynasty no more than I wanted a Biden dynasty or any other dynasty, a Bush dynasty or a Clinton dynasty. Not that Clinton had a dynasty. I don't see that coming. Barron may think about it 10, 20 years from now. Kids not but 18. Let him enjoy his 20s. Where we're going to be in 20 years, Mr. Winston, I don't think nepotism is going to be, it's going to be the least of our worries. Where I think we're headed as a country if we don't turn around, that's going to be the least of our worries. And, that's just my opinion, sir. That's just my opinion. Very well said. Oh, I'm sorry, Agape. He was referring to Lindsey Graham's sisters taking the Senate seat. My bad. My bad, Sir Winston. I'm late. I'm offending everybody tonight. So if that's what you meant, I understand. But so what? So what? It was his call. And Lindsey had expressed, in defense of that, he expressed to her that if something ever happened to him, he would like for her to take his seat. So she did. And she's announced that she's going to run for it. There's nothing wrong with that. By the way, if you've got a problem with that, are you upset with the lady in Dingle? Her husband died, and she took his seat. And that's a husband and wife thing. It may not be, same thing. They do it all the time. There was a lady in Missouri, and I can't think of her name, that her husband died, and she took over for him for a little bit. But I think nepotism is the least of my worries tonight. That I will say. Not to offend. It's getting late. Chris's mind's not working. I can't even recognize my own buddy, my own studio buddies, Hymns and Praises, and I should know that. I like this page, and it's a great website, by the way, a great YouTube channel. You need to go on there. Darlene is very worthy. She's very worthy. Mark says, informed consent, you decide. And Cleo says, yes, and informed consent requires truthful information. Very well said. Yoli, this was planned. And I go back to the Walmart thing. The Walmart here, I was in Farragut when this happened. I never forget, and I know this happened because my grandson, we celebrated his first birthday in March of 2020. And that was about when this thing started going nuts. They shut the travel down. I couldn't get home for a month. And, but when I got back, they already had every sign up in Walmart to put a mask on, distance yourself 6 feet. Of course, the vaccine was just beginning to be hauled out at the time, and all that controversy was coming later. But they were already doing the campaign ads. They were already doing the campaign ads for that, the day of the virus. And you don't do the campaign ads the day of unless it's been planned for months. So I totally agree with that. And I totally agree with Laura Mills last night. I was hesitant to believe this for a long time, but Chris has mellowed out, and Chris has believed a lot of things he used not to believe. One thing I believe it was a bioweapon. I do. I do. I think China let something get out of the lab, and they tried to hide it. And there was a story. Catherine Herridge, CBS reporter, used to be with Fox, good lady. She did a story on the number of networks that have been bought out by China. And the only two networks that she could not find a reporter that had China ties was Fox News and the Washington Post. And the Washington Post. One newspaper and one TV station. I'm not a fan of Fox. I'm not saying Fox is the only thing that you should watch, but I will tell you this. They do have some pretty sound voices. They used to have voices on there that I just wanted to take my fingernails and makes me the sound you make when you drive your fingernails on the chalkboard. Most of them are relegated to Brett Baer's show. That's about the only show that has them on there. Hannity has a few on every now and then. But anyway, China paid the media off over here to carry their water, and the Dems and others. But anyway. All right. Anything else? Anything else? Yes, Mary, the post office and Walgreens had those circles up just as fast too, didn't they? All of them. They all did. They all did. And Chris says, okay, what I meant was that they were the ones pushing the same wicked stuff like children mutilating themselves on kids and things like that. Well, Chris, I'll agree with that. But again, to ask why they're doing it, brother, it's spiritual. I mean, I can't get in the mind of these evil people. They're full of the devil. They're full of the devil. But it's both sides. Look, we can't just say it's the liberals. We make a mistake when we do. This is a two-headed monster that's trying to kill this country. All right, I've been all over the place tonight here a little bit. We had a great time with James Akers. I hope you enjoyed Akers tonight. He was great, wasn't he? And I hope that you all have enjoyed the show. Now, tomorrow's Wednesday. We do our face show on Wednesday night, so we'll be on the face side, Spirit Warfare Network at 8 o'clock. Thursday night, we got the one and only Brad Johnson. We got a power doubleheader coming. He'll be on early, probably on 7, like Ricky was Monday night. And then we got the one and only Leslie Millweek coming up at 10, where James was at tonight. Leslie and I do our weekly chat, and we will have a lot to talk about. We will have a lot to talk about, and I hope that you can join us for that. I wanted to show one other video. This is a great video. This sums up what I feel of Trump. Roll the tape. Is that Chris Allman singing in the background? That sounds like him, don't it? That guy could hit that high note. I thought that's Allman for a minute. We don't worship Trump, but I do love my president tonight. I'm proud of him. What you just saw in that video, folks, it's exactly what he's done in this second term since he's been back. It's just 40 seconds. Can I play it one more time? I should have played that on out. I like that. Bo London, great job. Great job. And I'm going to just say this going out. This is my show, so I guess I can address things in my chat. It was not frequencies, and there was a virus. It was a bioweapon virus. It wasn't done by frequencies. It was done in a China lab. Common sense should tell us that. We don't peddle that stuff around here. You can believe it if you want to. I don't. And I don't think most people do. And you're welcome to your opinion. And whatever. All righty. Good stuff. We don't have to worship him, but we can love him. And folks, that's what he's done. What you saw in that video, he's cleaned Washington, D.C. up. His administration has cleaned Washington, D.C. up because it was nothing but a trash hole. All righty, I'm done. It's past midnight, and we gave you one good show. Magdalene's guest, the reason we didn't come on earlier tonight, he got sick today and could not be with us. So we'll have him on another time. But Brad and Leslie, Thursday night, y'all do not want to miss Brad Johnson. We had Brad Johnson on for a long time. There ain't no telling what he's going to say. I may have to get my beeper out. You know, when people say words they shouldn't say, beep, 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 beep. I may have to get one of those beep. I have to get Alvin to fix me one of those beep, beep, beep. Because Johnson's wired up a little bit. I talked to him this week, and he's a little wired. So we'll see. We'll see what he does Thursday night. But Leslie will be with me. We'll have a discussion and some more videos and your comments late Thursday. Friday night, we're not sure what we're going to do yet, but we'll be on. Listen, and Alman's coming. I need to get Alman back. He wants to come on and talk finances with you and talk some stuff about the stock market, but some other things. And we've just been so busy. July has been one of the most stressed months I've ever had with my son graduating and everything going on. And we hope that this month's not going to be as stressed. I hope it won't be. And we'll have a lot more shows and a lot more guests that we usually have on the McFiles. We are 8 years going on 9. Can you believe that in January of this coming year, we will be 9 years old, approaching 10 years, people listening to this mouth of the South. And I want to thank you all for being with us all this length of time. Some of you have been with me from the start. Some of you in the midway, sooner than others, longer than others. But whether you've been with me from the start, in the middle, or just started listening, we want to thank you. These opinions are ours, and we don't feel hard at you if you don't hold to them. We don't. We just don't. I've grown up a lot in 8 years. I didn't handle things probably the best early on, and I've learned those lessons, and we've sort of mellowed out, and you should know that. I think you've figured that out. But our opinions are ours. And you're welcome to yours. We love every one of you. We appreciate you. Hope you have a good now Tuesday night going into Wednesday. We'll see you back here for the Face Show tomorrow night and be with us Thursday night for Brad Johnson and Leslie Millwee. If you enjoyed the show tonight, put some fire in that house. We are so grateful. We are so grateful for you. And take care, and we shall see you back here tomorrow. Good night, everybody.